I'm live. I'm live. Hello. Hi. There may be someone watching. There may not be. As usual, I didn't let anyone know that I was doing a live until 5 minutes before. But most of the time, if it's a Wednesday, I'm eventually going to do a live. So just keep an eye out for that. And I will probably try to alert people a little bit in advance. Last week, I didn't actually... couldn't actually do a live video. Last week I took some time to myself. I just had to how about I introduce myself? Hi, Victoria Wilder. Welcome to my home. I am the author of Lullaby of the Lilitude, which is a gothic fantasy or gothic urban fantasy, depending on how you want to look at it. Sorry if you're hearing traffic. It's literally been quiet all day long. This is the first sirens and honking that I've heard, and it happens to be 55 seconds after I started my live video. So thanks, New York. So anyway, welcome to my home. I am author of Lullaby of the Lilitude and this poetry book, Vlad of My Core, Songs of My Soul, and also a short story in a collection called Voices of Christmas, which you should get now. It's still winter. It's still Christmas time. Go read that book. And I also have do I have something else out? I definitely do. I have a book called 10 Spells for the Healthy Witch out as well. And yeah, I write. In case you didn't notice, in case you weren't sure, I write, and that's what we're doing today. We are doing writing sprints. Like I was saying last week, I needed some real hibernation time. I tried to take time off in December, and I'm still kind of just spreading my time off. And when I say time off, I mean my brain kind of just needs to shut down and be quiet, and I just need to kind of chill out and not, I guess, push myself so hard that I end up not liking what I'm doing, because I have a tendency of doing that, of just being so hardcore on my work and on my plans and my goals that I start making it feel like actual hard work. I mean, it is hard work, but I don't want it to feel that way, if that makes any sense. I want it to feel like I'm doing what I love and it's fulfilling me. What's the point of doing anything if it's not going to help me create a healthy, balanced, and fulfilled life, right? So I don't want to overdo anything. So I needed to take some time off, and that's what I did last week. I also was just kind of going through some emotional things and some changes in my personal life that I really just wasn't in the place to do videos. But here we are this week. I am ready. I am writing. I have been plotting all month long, and I hoped to be done a few days ago, and I'm still far from done. I'm working on Scourge of the Lilitude, which is the sequel to Lullaby of the Lilitude, and it's a different process, because Lullaby of the Lilitude was very personal, and a lot of my experiences and my personal feelings about it went into that book. It's not preachy or obvious. When you read it, you'll pick up on some of it, but it's not going to be oh, this is definitely an author insert thing. It's more I just had a lot of feelings as I was writing that book, and then when I went back to read it, I saw that they'd come through in a very strong way. I'm not sure that's going to be the case with Scourge, just because I'm not I'm in a pretty good place. And when I was writing that book, I wasn't in the best place. For years, I was depressed, and I was very big on self-sabotage, and I was having very, very toxic and unhealthy relationships, and I was just not being good to myself and not being good to my world, not being balanced, a lot. Not the whole time. I was able to finish it because I started fixing that stuff, but I wasn't in a healthy place, as I wasn't in as healthy a place as I am now. So that actually makes it a little bit harder to write this book, because there is a lot of unhealthy relationships and a lot of just struggle that these people are dealing with. And it's not even just normal struggle either. It's Lilitude struggle, and Lilitude are beyond humanity. They're beyond what we believe people they don't think the way you would expect a human to think, because they're not human. Okay, so we've got about 30 seconds. I see someone is out there watching. Hi. Please say, we got 30 seconds until the 5-minute mark, but I might actually give us a couple of more minutes to warm up and give myself a couple more minutes to actually get into the work, into the plot, because just before this video, my cat was going wild. I was having some things going on with my body, and so I just kind of jumped into this video and hadn't actually opened my app until like now, until like a minute ago. So I am using Scrivener. If you've never used Scrivener, it's amazing. If you do NaNoWriMo in November, then you can get I think a half off discount, or I think I think you can get a discount of some sort. And you can also get it for 30 days for free, 30 days of use to try it out. So I would recommend it to most people who write, because I feel like Scrivener has been a huge game changer for me personally. It's allowed me to take all of my Microsoft Words or all of my documents and everything that I would have in like a folder on my computer, and it's allowed me to compile them into just one document, like one file. And so all I have to do is open it, and there it is. And there's all my notes. There's all my backgrounds. There's all my sticky stuff. There are these like Post-it cards. I wonder if there is a way to. There is not. I was going to see if there is a way to share my you know what with you. You don't know what, do you? My screen with you. Sorry, guys. Like I said, there was some issues going on. I wonder, can you all hear me? Is this? Hopefully you have been hearing me this whole time and I haven't just been like rambling and my computer wasn't working. I don't know. I'm not seeing any like action down where there's like sound. I don't know. Anywho, tell me hi. Tell me what you're working on. Let me know what's going on your end. Even if you're watching this later, I'd love to just hear about your projects. I love hearing about writers. I just made contact with an old friend or someone. Well, we weren't really like friends, but we were friendly and we were on very good terms. And like we just, I knew her through someone else. But we just got in contact again today, and turns out she's writing a book too. And so that's really, really cool, like just running into people and like you don't even know these things. And I have a coworker who just published his book, and he'd been telling me about it for a bit, and it sounds amazing, and I can't wait to read it. I haven't yet because I have so many books that I'm still in the process of reading. I'm still reading a book right now, and then I'm going to start Children of Vengeance and Virtue, or Virtue and Vengeance, one of those. But Tomi Adeyemi's second book, after Children of Blood and Bone, I'm going to start reading that when I finish reading The Inner Side of the Wind, which is what I'm reading right now. And it's slow going, but it's surprisingly very like interesting. Like it's slow because it's weird, but it's not slow because I'm not interested in it, which usually when I'm reading slow, it's because I'm not as interested in the story as I would like to be. But sometimes it's just because I'm busy. But right now, it's just because this book is kind of weird and strangely written, and I like that a lot. It's very intriguing, but it's also kind of like hard to get into and hard to get out of. So it's very long passages, and so it's hard to really find a good stopping place because there are no like real chapters. There are like sections that are made up of other chapters, or like they're just like really long and it's like 5 chapters. So it's taking a bit to read, but the book itself is very interesting. It's short, and it's weird. It's called The Inner Side of the Wind, or the novel of Hero and Leander, and it is by an Eastern European author. I can't remember exactly where he's from, and I've read half of it so far, and it does this thing where it flips upside down, and then you read it from the other side into the half. So I made it to the midway mark, and now I have to flip it upside down and go ahead and read it the other way, I guess. So as usual, I did not come up with a prompt in advance, just because I've been plotting, and so like when you're really plotting something you've already planned, you can't really work with prompts. I mean, you could, I guess, but it's just not as effective for me. So instead of like a full-on prompt, I'm just going to give a character suggestion. So if you're writing something right now, I would say maybe your character develops powers that they did not know they had. How do they respond? What do they do with them? Okay, so we have 30 seconds to start our sprint, and I'm going to do a 15-minute sprint first, and then we'll do a 20-minute sprint afterwards, just to kind of give us a warm-up, because most of this time I'm probably going to be spending looking at my at what I have outlined so far, so that I can kind of catch up and get where I was going. So I will see you all in 15 minutes starting now. Hi, baby. Hey, kitty boo. How you doing? here, baby. Hello, my little love. Mommy's writing right now, okay? And I promise you're fine. I love you, but I'm writing. Stop. Time. Hello. So if you're out there writing, let me know how you did. I am not keeping track of word count at this moment, but if I were, then I would have written. Hold on a second, and I will tell you. This is. I thought I'd be going faster. Around 303 words, or not around, exactly 303 words. So that's cool. 15 minutes, 300 words. It's not narrative. It's only plotting. So I'm trying to figure out this scene, and I had a moment actually while trying to figure out this scene where I had to decide if a character was going to die, and that gave me pause because I'm still not sure 100% if I made the right choice, but we'll see. Because obviously if the character does die, then there are consequences to deal with that, and if the character doesn't die, there are also consequences to deal with that. And so I had to try to figure out which was the best choice, and we'll see if this choice is something I stick with in the later drafts. Right now it is the choice I've made, and hopefully it works out. It makes the scene a little bit more exciting, though, even just me questioning whether or not to do it. And hopefully maybe when I write it, the reader will question whether or not it's going to happen before the reveal happens. Hopefully, we'll see. But that was tough because in Lullaby, like, I kind of knew pretty early on which characters were going to die and which characters weren't. I kind of knew very early on even their mode of death, you know what I mean? Like how they actually ended up dying. And some characters I didn't know, and it just seemed right. But it's kind of rare that I actually come up against a scene where it's like, should I kill this character or not? And I've had that twice in this book already. Like, should I kill this? Like, there have been two characters where I've been like, should this character die right here? Should they die later? Should they die at all? Should they be at risk of they're always they're at risk of death, obviously, but like whether or not I actually go through with it has been a question for me twice already in this book. And I don't know if it's because I like the characters or because the kind of characters that they are, or because I'm not sure if it just matters enough because they're not. I mean, this is just the outline, so I haven't yet really fleshed out their personalities as well as I have some of the older characters I have, because one of them is a new character, one of them is an older character, but her personality doesn't get a lot of time in the book, I guess I should say, because she definitely doesn't get very much time in the first book. She's only mentioned at the end, but then in the second book, she does get more time, but not a lot of dialogue. Excuse me, not a lot of dialogue, not a lot of interaction with other characters. Her general interaction is with a group of characters, so not a lot of one-on-one. And then this is like her first one-on-one scene, and so I'm like, should I like take her out, or should I rescue her, or should I like hurt her a little bit, but like not kill her? And I know that sounds like crazy to think about, but these are characters. They're not real. I'm not actually thinking about whether or not to hurt real people. But it went well, actually. I did get some stuff out. So I think we'll maybe jump into another sprint on the, what time is it? It's the 20 now. So let's say on the 25, we'll jump into another sprint. What is that sound? Is that my cat? That might be my cat. She was kind of harassing me while I was trying to write. She does this thing where she doesn't need anything all day long, and then, and like, I mean, I give her stuff. I feed her, we play, I give her treats. I squeeze and squish and kiss her all day, and she doesn't really want any of that attention. But when I'm sitting down and I'm writing or I'm working on something, that is when she comes and she demands attention, like aggressively. She'll yell at me, she'll headbutt me. You guys didn't see her, but she kept like headbutting my legs on the floor and kept like rubbing at me and like just staring at me with that face that says, "Give me what I need." But there's nothing she needs. She's got a bowl full of food, she's got a fountain, a very fancy electronic fountain, and she tends to drink out of the bathroom sink a lot, which I let her do before we were live. And we had treats, and we played with her strings, and we ran around, and she was sitting on my lap for a bit. So she's had everything she needs. But that 15 minutes of me focusing on something, she is desperate for attention, which I find kind of sweet, kind of cute, but also, frustrating, because it's hard for me to resist her. It's hard for me not to like want to play with her, because she's the best cat in the entire universe, and I will fight you on that. I'm kidding. Maybe she's the best cat. And I am out of water. So yeah, we'll do the next sprint will be 20 minutes, and we'll do that on the 25. So it is 9:21 now, wherever you are. It's something 21 probably. And we will keep going. It's been good. Like I said, I've been working on this over the last couple of weeks. The last 2 days, I haven't been working on this because I was really just putting off something else that I needed to do. And because I was putting that off, it meant I was also putting this off, because it was just like, I have to do that before I can get back to this, but I wouldn't let myself do that because I got problems. So the last 2 days I have not been working on it, but I have been pretty consistently the rest of this month, like every day plotting, and I am almost to the end, I think. It's actually sooner than I expected, and we'll see how it turns out. Like, so far for each, I have like 32 chapters plotted out, and if each chapter turns out to be around 1,500 to 2,000 words, then the book itself will be somewhere around 60,000 words, if it turns out 2,000 words each. But I can't guarantee that's going to happen, because I don't know how many words it'll take, and I generally will write however many words I need for the chapter, for that scene, for that section, and not, push too many. So we will see what happens. But I know that my last book, Diva, ended up being about 30 or so scenes, or maybe even less, but it was definitely not a lot of words. It was only around 35,000 words by the end of the first draft. And when I go back and edit that, I think I will be adding a lot more. And I kind of don't want to do that with Lullaby. I'd like to have as much as possible out so that I can just go back and like edit and flesh it out. Or not Lullaby, Scourge. With Lullaby, I actually had way more words, and I ended up cutting out like 5,000 words in the first draft, and then adding almost 10,000 words in the second draft, and then cutting out more words, and then adding and cutting out. And it was like this back and forth pretty much the whole time. And so now it is at 78,000 words, I believe. And I would like Scourge to be close to that, between 70 and 80,000 words. That is something I'm hoping to achieve. We'll see how it works out. Okay, so we have about 2 minutes until our next sprint, and what was that? Sorry, I have like something typed on my page, on my notes, and I don't really know what it means, and I just noticed it. But in our next print, let's see, what will our prompt be? In this prompt, your character meets a group of characters, and they rub your character the wrong way, or your character rubs them the wrong way, but either way, the dynamics are a little bit tense. So how do they deal with it? How are they going to get out of it? What you gonna do? Okay, so we have 1 minute, and I don't know. We're going to do 20 minutes, like I said. We have 1 minute. We'll see what happens. I am not counting the time, but it's not lining up with that. So we're going to go on the 25, but I'm trying to see if I can make it to when this clock on my live on YouTube says we're on 35, because then I will just kind of be able to do that math. But you know what? It's a 25 now, so I'm just going to press start. 20 minutes. Let's do it. Time's up. Whew. Well, cool. How did they go for those of you out there? For me, that was intense. I was just in a really intense scene just now, and I'm like not sure exactly where it's going, but it's going somewhere. And it's like just what's happening right now is not something I expected to happen, but it makes sense. And now I just kind of have to figure out how the other characters are going to deal with it and where this is going, because I feel like I'm too close to the beginning to be getting so close to the end. And I could have, like, at any point in the last 2 chapters, probably just like went to the end scene, but that would be crazy. Why would I do that? And there's still so much I think that is not clear and not understood and needs to be explored. There are characters that need to have an arc of their own. So there is a lot that I'm gonna have to probably go back and add in that respect, like giving other characters their own sort of arcs as well, and like just making sure that it's a clear arc. But where we are right now, I don't know. I just feel like there's more that can be done, and I don't want it to end it here. But that means I kind of have to keep upping the ante and keep like pushing what's happening and making things go wrong over and over again, and it's kind of tough, you know. But it's okay. It's fine. It's totally fine. A lot of the things I have in my notes are pretty early on in the story, actually. So I really, like I said before, I have not done a good job of outlining this. Like there's just this whole space like towards the end where it's like eventually this happens and she does this at least a few times and it's established that this is true, and they meet these characters, and so like what happens around all of that I did not write, I did not figure out. And so it's like there's a lot of very vague sections in my outline, and so this plotting process is very tough because I did that to myself. But you know, what are you gonna do? You know, what are you gonna do? This is just life, you know. I mean, I could kind of end it closer to where I am now. It's really hard for me to think what's going to happen because, as far as I can see, the location they're in probably won't change much, especially if I want the ending that I want, and I do. So, like, and that ending has to happen in the location they're in now. So, I don't know what I'm going to do to get them out of this location into somewhere else just so that there's movement happening. And I also don't know, like, if I stay in this location, I don't know how much longer I can keep it from, what's the word? Oh, no, I just had an idea. Okay. Yes, I just had an idea that may work, may help me figure out how to move this forward and get some more action for like another like 4 or 5 chapters at least. And That's exciting. Yay. It just like came to my head. Yay. So let's do another sprint. Let's do it like in a minute, and we'll do 20 minutes and it'll be our last sprint, and then I'll come on and let you know how that went. But on the 50 seems like a good time to start the sprinting. So on the 50, when the clock is ready, we'll start and we'll do another 20 minutes because I just had this cool idea of something that I can that relies on another chapter in the past, but I can totally just add it and like work with that and make sense. You know what I mean? I'm excited now because I just had that idea. Now it's like I have a reason to send so many characters in a different direction, and that direction is going to not only make it so that there's more happening in the book itself, but it's also going to I just caused another problem for my characters, and it's a pretty big one. It's a pretty important one that has to do with the ending. So we can't get to the ending because I just introduced this problem, which honestly makes total sense and was already ready to be introduced. Okay, so let's do this. I'm ready. I hope you're ready. It is 9:50, so I'm going to hit 20. I'm going to give us another 20 seconds before I hit the timer, just so that this thing says we are at 60. So this thing being YouTube on my screen up here, and then down here is where my clock is. So let's do it right now. to get those last words out, but that is time, and it is 10:10. That's a pretty lucky number. I think we're in a good place here. Yeah, that's time. That was our last sprint of the night, and in that sprint, I don't know how many words I wrote, but I completed 2 scenes and started a 3rd scene, as far as plotting goes. And whew, I am really glad I made that change, because it gets them out of the location they have to be in the end, and it gets them to kind of move around a bit. It also causes or allows me to bring in some other characters so that I can start to kind of wrap up their arcs a little bit, and other characters whose arcs will continue on into the next couple of books, just kind of get them into a place where they don't just immediately just drop out of the story, where they are a continuous either threat or presence, depending on which characters they are. So yeah, that little change actually helped a lot. That is kind of how the process works. It's like I write stuff, and then I'm like, where do I go? And then I'm like, oh, well, if they had done this earlier, then this could happen now. And so I can go back and like fix those things. And that's really fun. And that's kind of what I did today, is like, well, if this happened earlier, and the thing that happened, I could just add. I didn't even have to like move anything around, because it's concerning like a pocketable object. So I could just say they had the object, because there was no indication of where it was before that. Or like there was indication, but there was no indication of where it was in that scene. So I could have just said, hey, this character took this object. And now when they need this object, they can't have it because the character took it. So that actually worked out really well, because now they have to go find it, and then they find it. And then as they're doing that, some other stuff is happening, and other characters are coming in, and it can get crazy, it can get wild, it can get exciting. And that is what I am looking for. And I still don't know where I'm going now, because I did all that, and now we're somewhere else, and some other things are happening, but I still don't know what's going to happen on the way back, I guess. And there are other characters that I just feel I would like to flesh out somehow, but I'm really not sure how. I'm really not sure what's coming and what's going to happen that will get me to the end. Chances are I'm going to start to wrap up this plot, this outline, in a couple of days, and just kind of get maybe up to like 40 chapters, and then see how that plays out. Like if the first chapter comes out to being around 2,000 words, then I can probably guess that the rest will sort of fit in. There will be some shorter chapters as well, but I really don't want this to be a super short book. I also don't want it to be like the longest book in the world, but I'm definitely an underwriter. And I do feel like there's more that can be explored here that I'm just I haven't done yet, because I've been trying to kind of rapidly write through this. Like during the sprints, it's like I'm just trying to get things out. So there's like a lot of stuff that I feel like I can go back and look at from the original book, from my original notes, that I don't even have in this. I don't think I actually have in this folder, or maybe I do. Maybe I just broke it up into pieces. But the original notes from Lullaby of the Lilith are something I need to go back and look at as well, just so that I can refresh myself on certain rules, on certain ideas I had for the overall story, for the whole arc, for the whole series, and things that I need to remember of, like what powers certain Lilith have, like what abilities does this Lilith have that this one doesn't. Because this book is, I feel, going to mention and talk about their powers, because depending on how old the Lilitu is, or what practices they engage in, their experiences, their powers are going to be different from other Lilitu. And there may be some headbutting about that within the Lilitu society, essentially. So I need to really go back and like make sure, like refresh myself on the details of their lives and of their character, and like the details I've had since the beginning for some of these characters. And even just some like lines from my notes that would actually help explain some things about the first book, but would make sense being mentioned in the second book because of who is available to give information now. Whereas in the first book, it was very much tight. It was very focused on their personal thing, and now it's kind of expanded into many more characters, and the experiences of many more characters, more than just the one little family. It's the whole system that's being talked about and questioned and experienced, explained here. So we will see where this goes. We will see what happens. And soon we'll have a book. Soon we will have another book. I am hoping to get this book finished, finish the first draft by soon. I'm not going to give you guys the exact dates, but very soon, sooner than I generally would write a book. I am really trying to push my way through this book much faster than I did my last 2 books, because I would like to have this series out and done, and then start some of my other projects and do some of the other stuff that's related to this series but isn't directly the books, like side projects that are in the same world with different characters and whole different experiences. So there's a lot I want to do. And I want to get it out. And so I don't want to take 2 years with every book. I don't want to take 2-3 years with every project. I want to get it out faster. So I'm trying this new thing where I'm kind of pushing myself through this book, and it's making it feel like a harder process, but also it's exciting because I'm seeing this new book come into being only months after my second book was finished, and less than a year after my first book was published. And so that is, I feel like, a good pattern. I think I'm on a good road. My fridge is buzzing, so I guess that means it is time for me to shut my mouth and let you guys have the rest of your night. Thank you. It is already after 10 p.m. I am starving. I am freezing cold because I turned off the heater because it gets really loud, and it's really cold in my apartment right now. So I am going to go on and do some other stuff that I have planned to do tonight. And then I'll probably come back to this plot and continue this a little bit more, because I'm very excited, and I do feel like I'm closer to the end than I expect it to be at this point, but we're pretty close. So we will see what happens. I will see you guys next time, next Wednesday, which is January 29th. So I will see you guys next Wednesday on January 29th for another write-in, probably. Maybe it'll be me talking about other stuff. Maybe I'll be talking about how I finished my plot and how I'm starting to draft. We'll see. I'll see you next week, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Please like and subscribe. Hit all those links in the description. You will find them there, and you will find me on the internet and on Facebook and on Instagram and on Twitter. And I am all over the place, and I am just as chatty and weird and annoying and lovable and precious as I am on these videos. So I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks so much for being here. Please have a beautiful, amazing, and wonderful week. And remember always that I love you. Bye.